I've been seeing countless messages about this clip, so let's go through it. So I've got a chap here spraying. This is an air tractor coming along. What's he got? Corn there over the highway and right in front of a big truck. What do they call them there in the States? A semi. Buzzing the semis on the 30. So what have we got there? We've got quite a dynamic and maybe chaotic situation. We've got a crop dusting plane spraying a crop. Looks like corn, but spraying a crop, however, and ends up flying in front of a truck. So let's first look at the aircraft. Now these are specially equipped, specifically designed to apply fertilizers, pesticides, liquids, and also for firebombing. Now this aircraft it's there for a specific reason. It's a lot quicker to cover a large crop or a large area with an aircraft than it is, say, using any form of ground rig. So that's why the aircraft is there in the first instance. And for the pilots themselves, myself included, to become one, it's a little bit more than just going down to the local aero club and grabbing your license. There's a bit more involved as far as to become an aerial applicator. There's a lot that you, the pilot, needs to do before you're considered competent and able to go out and spray a paddock or apply any liquids or solids, whatever the case may be. For me, just to get my basic agricultural rating here in New Zealand, it was 80 plus hours, and that's on top of already having a commercial license, which is 200 plus hours. And then even after that, I still had to do another 1,000 hours before I would get signed off to be competent to go on my own and do every other job. Up until those 1,000 hours, on top of the 80 and on top of the 200 plus I already had, I was always keeping in touch with the chief pilot or a senior person who would be your mentor of sorts. So there's a lot involved before you even get to a competent stage and do things like what this person's doing here. And up until that point, it's worth noting that you're operating to sort of reduce parameters up until that stage. Here we call it an Ag 1. You start as an Ag 2, do your 1,000 hours, and then you pass a test to get your Ag 1. And these reduced parameters are things like risk to third party. In this instance here, things like a road where there's public access or the possibility of public people being in the road of your working area, your operation. Specifically for us, if it's off the end of an airstrip, if there's any roads, you're limited to what you can carry if you're an Ag 2. And things like that come into the equation. And the challenges that any pilot faces in that low-level environment, you've got wires, you've got roads, cars and trucks, as we've seen. There's also trees that you can't see, which are dead trees with branches sticking out without any leaves. And it's a highly dynamic situation. And when we first do a block, we'll do a recce of sorts. So we'll fly over the paddock, do a wide orbit, high orbit, and look for any hazards, which in here we've got the main highway, as we know, the 30. You've got high tension wires there, very big ones, and there's no other hazards that at least we can see. There's potentially some trees off on the other side, but we don't know how far to this block it is. If we have a good look at this clip, you can see the crop. And you can see just before, he's not even at the end of the run there, and the aircraft is banking away, obviously for the truck. So knowing this, the aircraft has certainly made a decision that they're going to have to fly underneath this wire here, because by the time he reaches the road, there's not enough room to climb over top. Some things worth pondering is, did the pilot know the truck was there or the cars were there? That we're not sure. Without speaking to the pilot specifically, ideally you want to be in full control of the environment you're in. Meaning, if you can see vehicles coming, or you know there's a road there to start with, if you can see a truck or cars coming, the ideal thing to do would be to pull up short and leave, say, a gap of a couple of swaths. And we call this running a headland at the end. So you'd shut your spray off well before the end of the run, pull up early so you're going to clear any traffic that might be there, and at the end of the job, do some headlands where you're spraying perpendicular to where you were. So in this case, it'd be parallel with the road. So to the crux of it all, should this have happened? In an ideal world, no. The point is, we don't actually know the full story there. There's a lot that needs to be taken into account. Getting more to the point, could it have been done better? And if so, how? And what can you learn from this? And what can you as a pilot take away from that to ensure things like this don't happen? It's worth pondering. Anyway, that's my thoughts. Thanks. Hooroo.